Good afternoon, YouTubers. We're rounding the corner this month. We're getting closer towards the election. A lot of things are going on. The question is how to create financial success without trying and learning true happiness. Okay, we talked a little bit about this a little bit earlier. And as I've mentioned many times before, of course, this is a training video for our clients at Instar Alliance. However, anyone is welcome to watch them. Free country. And I believe that our best mode of getting the information out, because of the amount of clients that we're dealing with, is using YouTube at their own leisure. The number was 703-646-3941, still is. You can call us during normal business hours. We're here in the Washington, D.C. area. So with enough due here, let's try to figure out how we can create financial success and learn true happiness in the prospect. Okay? I talked about this a while back, and I'm rehashing things because we're getting to a point now where I plan to, with our company here, to, put out a download. And download book to kind of highlight a lot of the different topics. Sometimes it's not easy for people to sit and watch all the different episodes that we have set up. We're going to get up to around 15 parts, and we're at 13 right now. Once we get past that, great. Then we'll look at putting videos on as needed. A lot of people who get on YouTube, they get on YouTube in the efforts of hoping to make money with it. Some do. We didn't necessarily do that. We just wanted to have some sort of forum where people could, at their leisure, be able to, get on time, which works, whatever time that might be best for them on YouTube, and learn these things. A lot of things that we teach, though, are basically things that after the fact, after they've gotten their lives together. And one of the reasons how come I think people don't create financial success is because they're looking in all the wrong places. The first place to look for financial success is within you. Okay? You have to be a person who wants to create financial success. How do you do that? You have to get the mindset of the wealthy, because they're the ones that are creating financial success. Some make hundreds of millions of dollars. They've gotten really, really good at creating financial success. Now, I want to start off mentioning that financial success shouldn't be the only goal you have in life. Though most people in the U.S., that's their only goal. And they judge their own self-worth about the amount of money that they've made. And because they don't make a lot of money in this working world here in the U.S., I can't speak for other countries, of course, it creates a lot of frustration in their lives, and they use a lot of debt. And our company, what we do is we teach people to look at alternate ways of achieving success without creating massive amounts of debt and loans. Does that sound impossible to do? No, it's not. It's very simple, actually. And next week, we're going to delve right into it. But the first thing that you need to do to create financial success is that you want to have it. You want to create it. You want to do it in such a way that not only does it benefit you, this is the hard part, but it benefits other people. Can you do it in a job? It's difficult, because their goal is to build the company. Can you do it in another job in other countries? Probably. I saw two different companies here in the U.S. that ran with the same philosophies that people run in Europe, say. And basically, the two philosophies, it was a software company, and it was also a company that makes bakery and bread goods. And each were employee-owned, so each person within the company had their own say. That decreases stress immensely. And then they had their own personal stake in the company because, it's employee-owned. So they do whatever they need to do to make the company be prosperous, and at the same time they get paid a fair wage, and they get options and they get things so that when the company grows, they grow. They all grow together as a whole. We don't do that in this type of country. We do is more of a capitalistic approach where very few people get wealthy and the rest of them are just the peons underneath making it happen. And they know they are. So it's hard to have true financial success and true happiness unless, of course, you feel that your life is and your life has meaning, and your meaning goes beyond whatever possessions you have, and that you personally take a vested interest in making yourself be aware of all the negativity around you and doing something about it by not absorbing it. A lot of people, they kind of absorb that energy, and they just live off of it, and they feed off of it. Where does that negativity come from? Again, we're not going religious here, but it does come from that realm. I have a religious background, so I know it does. A lot of people don't believe in religion, so they don't grasp the concept. But for having free will, which is, a blessing and a curse here in the U.S., because people have so much free will that their senses and their basic morality has dropped down to a point where their individualism has overtaken any logic and reason within their own minds. It's a me, me, me world that, they are on an endless quest to try to build more stuff. But then it leaves them hollow. And that's what happens when they're successful, but they don't have any moral compass or background. And that comes from religion. I know, when you look back in the past, I was watching a movie with Nicolas Cage, Season of the Witch, and it was showing the Crusades. And while I watched the Crusades there, they were saying, this is what we're doing for God, this is God's army. But it really was just a few priests and stuff who were on a power trip that really wanted to, force their rules and wheels and taxations and all the other things that came by in that time frame in the Middle Ages onto the people that lived there. So there's always been a great antagonism between church, state, and the people, and it probably always will be. And when people think of a lot of bad things and negative things, they have a right to do so, because that's how the church grew and got as big as it was. I said nothing against the church. I'm just saying the philosophies of Christ, the philosophies of the Bible, these things you should have a personal relationship with. Churches are nice. I love the fellowship of it. I'm in one. However, the thing is, you have to look at it for what it is. Okay, you're supposed to be there to worship God. So, enough said on religion. But I believe that there's a lot of positive good. And if you follow some of the teachings and learnings of it, then perhaps, you'd have a different mindset. You wouldn't look as money as God, but you would think of God as God. And that would help. Because then things would change in your life. Things would be more positive. You have to understand that negativity comes from, the evil one, Satan. And like I said, I'm not going to dwell into this. But, you got to understand where it comes from. And these thoughts can take over your life until a point where you live, eat, sleep, bitterness. So in order to be happy, in order to be more prosperous in the long run, you want to help other people. Now, when I say helping other people, I'm not talking about family members. I'm not talking about children. I'm talking about strangers. People don't like helping strangers. But in order for you to get that redemption, and if you understand the Bible and stuff, it always talks about your neighbor. It never talks about your spouse. It never talks about your parents other than honoring them. It talks about strangers constantly. The whole thing. Strangers. So if you're going to be helping strangers, you'll be helping yourself. But in order to do that, you need to get the right mindset. And when you're around strangers or other people, you have to be more positive. And the only way you're going to be more positive, you have to create more basic morality in your life. And from that alone, you will begin to realize that you can turn away from these negativity and the negativity that you receive from others, brush it off, and move on down the road. True happiness is basically created that way, is realizing that these people, they have a journey that's different than yours, and that you're willing to help them if they're willing to help themselves. We've talked a lot in regards to different ways of earning income and doing other things, but we also never really talked about the charity towards people. You need charity towards people. You can learn that through a church if you found the right church. You can learn that through being in fellowship with those type of people. However, bear in mind though, the main purpose there is, to be worshiping God and not to be, following in the rules of man. People are very hedonistic, more in this country than almost any other country. And that's probably the reason why people are so obese in this country. And I know a lot of people say, oh, people aren't that obese. They are. Okay. That's a general lie. And that the way that they deal with the stress is by eating the way out of it. And if you look at people now, the body structure of that, look at a female from, say, late 70s, early 80s. They're not thin. They're not round. They're not nothing like this. They're the opposite of that. They're more like that. And that's why they sit a lot, play with the phones. They isolate themselves. It's all about themselves. I know that hedonism is a part of being human, but at the same point too, you have to curtail it. A good book for you to read, Whatever Happened to the American Dream. Whoops. That book is a really good book. It's an older book, but it talks about it. And this was a guy who started off didn't have much religion in his life. However, later on down the road, he realized the only way he was ever going to be happy in life is that he adapted some of these policies, and that's what I ask you to do today. A lot of people don't like it. They feel that the church is to blame. And even now, over this particular election season, if you look at the date of when this was recorded, we're just weeks away from the election. Trump tries to build himself up by having these rallies. And people, oh, we love you. We love you. It doesn't do him any good. He gets tons of people sick from him. Doesn't care about people. Only doing it because, there's a prosecutor looming up back in New York where his headquarters is for his business, ready to tear him a new hole, as it is said, because of tax evasion. And this is not a political statement either. It's just fact. Another fact. A lot of people. I read an article in regards to what the world thinks of the pandemic and who the cause is. 50% of the population of the U.S., which was the only country that was only at 50%, by the way. All the other countries, it was higher. So anywhere between 68 to 70% believe that if Donald Trump had not pressed Xi so hard to a point with this trade war, that we wouldn't have this pandemic. And that's pure fact. And I actually did a particular episode on that. We knew people went over to China, and that's the mindset. And is it true? I would say yes, it's definitely true. That was the only thing that was on his agenda. He could have closed those international flights. He did not. And he did not because he wanted to. Retribution for their money being devalued twice from the meddling by Trump. A lot of that's blamed with Congress. Talked about Nancy Pelosi. And, maybe perhaps not going with that impeachment, but building us up and getting us ready for this. And this fall, it's going to be a nightmare. I can tell you that right now. Without sunlight and daylight to help us, which creates vitamin D in our bodies, our body and our immune systems will be weaker. There's going to be a lot of sick people. But wrapping all this up, my point here is, if you want to be happy, you need to adopt a few basic religious principles. Okay? You need to try to make yourself understand within your mind, even if it's a lie, that this is going to be a good day today. Try to push those negative thoughts from work and from other people that you encounter behind. In order for true happiness, it's not going to come from wealth. It's going to come from helping others. That we do here in Star Alliance is we help others. We help others try to find an alternative. One of the questions we ask people is, what can you do after this election without government intervention? Whatsoever, you by yourself, without stimulus money or anything, looking to the government to help you, that you can help yourself. And this is one little piece of it. Next thing is try to figure out how to reduce your interest rates, so we work with that. All these things will help you so that you're not as stressed. because stress comes from work in the wrong type of manner. Stress in jobs overseas, different. Stress in jobs here in the U.S., no. You got one person at the top and squeezing the life out of the ones underneath. That's the American dream. So that's whatever happened to it, like I said with this book here. So next week, we're going to have just talking a little bit more about our company, one of the few times I've done this. And then after that, we're going to go over a summary in the following week, see how the elections finish up. And then after that point, we'll be putting videos out as needed based upon what clients want to hear more about. I think we've given them a good training, teaching what to do after you get your lives together, long before, and things that they can do along the way. So have a nice week, safe week, and we'll go from there.